just means so much to me. Oh, I'm gonna wag my tail.
Hi everyone, welcome back in a brand new video of PTP. Yep, that's me. In today's video, we'll be talking about some rarer and more unknown terms related to Otherkin and Phyanthrope. However, some of those terms I'll explain simplified, meaning that I'll ask you to check out the description. I'll link some handy blogs and descriptions and explanations related to those terms, so you can read for yourself and figure out more details about those terms. The terms I'll be discussing in this video are more unknown or rare terms that you will cross more unlikely. However, they are all valid identities of the Therian or Alienkin communities, or related to those communities. Some of those terms might seem impossible or weird, or like, is it even related? Yes, it's all related. Yes, some of them are actually Otherkin and Therian identities. They're just rarer and weirder, and that is because they're more likely to be misunderstood or just not accepted because of the unlikeliness of them and because of being used a lot by trolls. However, I ask you to take all of those identities as completely valid one by one. The human mind is really strong, the human brain is still not fully discovered even, and well, researchers have seen that the human being can basically identify as anything and everything, so by that, everything and anything is basically valid. The first word I'd like to discuss is Paleotherian. The Paleotherian is a word created in 1997. Paleotherian is used to indicate anyone identifying as an extinct species. Most often those are dinosaurs, or mammoths, or like some kind of big saber-toothed cat thing. However, there can also be extinct species that only went extinct like a year ago. And Paleotherians are actually seen as Therians or therianthrope related identity. The next term is Plantkin. Invented in 2004, this is an Otherkin identity. However, Plantkin didn't just start as Plantkin. The first word was actually Wereplant. Wereplant, yeah, kind of like a funny word, but this was because it was invented in about 1990. This because at this time, were was a very often used word in the Therian community. Later on, in 2013, you also have Phyanthrope as an alternative for Plantkin. Some people like to use greenkin or woodkin instead. Factkin identify as actual living or died human beings. Michael Jackson, Jesus, Trump. However, this term was actually created by trolls, and by that I cannot find any information on how it was originated. I want you to keep skeptic. Technically, Factkin is stealing identity theft, really just illegal. Practically, it can be seen as a serious mental illness related to multiple identity disorders or something completely different like schizophrenia and stuff like that. And because of that, the community most often doesn't accept Factkin. Otherkin stands for identifying as non-human. A Factkin identifies as a human being, by that is not Otherkin. The next term is Fictionkin. Coined in 2004, it is related to the Otherkin community. However, actually in 2000 it was coined as Otakukin because of a website called the Temple of Otakin. A little side note that Otaku stands for anime or Japan's multimedia. The next is Objectkin, which is a part of the Otherkin community. However, people often say you have to be a living animal or living being to be an Otherkin, which is actually incorrect because the original definitions never says anything about being living or non-living, and by that Objectkin are valid identity of the Otherkin community. Objectkin identify as objects, quite logically. When this term was coined, I cannot find back, but I can find back the base it was coined of the reasons. Many religions worldwide believe that objects, natural phenomena or non-human animals can possess souls and forms of life, meaning that a robot has a form of life, but also your broad toaster has a form of life, or your car or your helicopter. There's also a belief called animism. Animism means that you believe that any non-human animal, object or natural phenomenon has a soul or a living sort of form. Most robotkin we see in the Therian and Otherkin community are usually robotkin. The next term is Mythkin, a bit better known, but again I didn't find back any information about when it was coined, most likely because it has been around as long as the Otherkin community as a whole has been around. Mythkin means any mythical being, so it means anyone who identifies as any mythological being like a dragon, unicorn or centaur. Theriomythic actually started as Wereplant, which was coined in 1996, then Theriomythos coined in 2010, and then Theriomythic coined in 2013. Theriomythic actually is someone who identifies as a mythological animal that lives similar to an earthen animal, so out of instinct and animalisticness. Whereas another king would be a mythological animal like a dragon, but then with wisdom or human language or magic and stuff like that, so not like an earthen being. I have made an entire video about Theriomythic and why they should be included again in Therianthrope or why they shouldn't, and history and how they got kicked out and how they got forced out and stuff like that. I highly recommend you to watch this video. It's in the description. It's very interesting. I'm a great fighter for having those Theriomythics back into Therian community. If they want to at least. But Therian community was started by werewolves and dragons, and now we say, hey, you can be in the Therian community, even though you started it yourself. So I'm a great fighter in this battle, and I just recommend you to watch it because I'm really passionate about the Theriomythic thing. Then I actually have two very interesting facts about very often used words of the Therian Otherkin community. Being that a Theriotype actually was called a wereside, then a phenotype between 1993 and 1999, and that the Therian was actually called a were and then a therianthrope and then a Therian between the same time. Next unknown term is spacekin, actually pretty much known or better known than the other terms, but still not widely used. Spacekin identify as well anything in space. This also includes galaxykin, nebunakin and alienkin. Related to this you also have voidkin. Voids are actually like empty patches of space or anything in between. Then glitchkin, but now that this term is actually very highly frowned upon because of being more likely not actually an Otherkin identity. Glitchkin, after all, more describes a state of feeling and experiencing something than a state of being something. Glitchkin say that they feel as if they do not belong on this earth or in this body, as if they don't even fit their body and their place in earth. They usually experience forms of delusional and hallucinations of their personalizations. Whereas as you see, it's more about the state of I feel that I do not belong and I feel that I have problems with hallucinations, which is more of a state of feeling and less of a state of being. And last but not least, I have copinglink. And copinglink was a term coined in 2015. However, it was actually coined as a separate term of copinkin. A copinkin means that you identify as something because of coping with it. However, the difference is that copinkin do not choose this. They unconsciously start developing this identity to cope with whatever they have to cope with, while a copinglinker will consciously choose to identify as some animal or being to cope with their problems. So a copinglinker is consciously and a copinkin is unconsciously. That was it then, guys. This was my video for this time, and I hope you learned some new terms. Please check out the description down below. I'll link some blogs to the terms to better explain to you what they exactly are and any side them they might have. And I wish you good luck on your journey of self-discovery. I'm also always here if you need me in the comment section down below. Just send me a comment or send me a PM in any kind of way. You can find back all of my contact info in my YouTube description. I'm always here to help you guys. Absolutely love you guys. However, now that I'm kind of slow at the moment because of having to take my rest mentally and physically, also because of a wisdom teeth removal surgery that hasn't really gone that well afterwards. At least the surgery itself was fine, just anything afterwards was complete hell. So I'm always here for you guys and I love you all. Woof, PD!